Hey my friends, welcome to Storytime, where I tell you a testimony that happened to me. But if you got a testimony, let me know in the comments because you could be in a video on the Amen series, where that series is dedicated to stories and testimonies from y'all. And stay till the end because I'll be revealing tips on how you can start right away speaking this new God language. But go on ahead, sit down, lay down, eat something because you're about to hear an amazing story. Let's begin. This is exciting. Hit the like button for more stories and subscribe so you don't miss any great stories, testimonies, teachings, and music soon. And short films and much, much more. Everything you want to hear and need to hear is right here on this channel. No more going back and forth with different channels. And if you got a question that you need answered, go ahead and put it in the comments and I will definitely answer you personally. But let's get into the story. So I'm going to go into where I first even learned that this wasn't even a thing. Speaking tongues was even a thing. So I lived in Dallas. We were surrounded by a church like all the time, which was John G. Lake Ministries. If you never heard about him, link is down below so you can learn about him. And I was there as a kid all the time because my dad worked there. And these were the times where you're a kid and you see a lot of stuff that you didn't know existed. And they were speaking a language that I had no idea existed. So I was just like, you're literally repeating what I used to say when I was like 2 months old. So I really didn't understand it, but I knew it was something that they're doing had something to do with God. And that's where I figured this whole speaking tongue things out. That's when I knew it was a thing. And then you grew up, and then in about, I don't know, high school, middle school, I started knowing that it was like your own language with God. That this is, no one will understand your language except Jesus himself. I mean, you don't understand what you're saying. Like, you don't understand anything you're saying. It's just blah, 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 blah. Obviously it doesn't sound like that, but it just sounds like, you know, like a language, but you don't know what you're saying, and it's just popping, it's just coming out. The cool thing about speaking tongues is that the devil can't even know what you're talking about. Only God knows what you're talking about, so that's pretty cool. That's why it's your own communication, it's your own language with him. You don't know what you're saying, he knows exactly what you're saying. And in high school, maybe even younger, I asked somebody a question like, how do you even start doing that? Like, how do you do this? And they would say, you know, it's not something I can just teach you. I can tell you about it all the time, but it won't do any good. You need to do it yourself with God. It's something that you need to unleash. That we all have the ability to speak tongues if you just allow God to just flow and through you and just thank him and love him. Just let it flow out. Just go, and then blah, blah, there you go. It just goes out. And I was like, okay, sounds easy enough. I got a relationship with Jesus. And then I don't know how to, I don't know. And I'm pretty sure I told like many people how you do it, because maybe they got like a different way of seeing it, different tips, different ways to get it out, and nothing unleashed that, and I didn't know what to do. And this was when I was Christian, but really, no, I didn't read a lot. I didn't really pay attention to God too much. It was more of like a title, I guess, for me. This was 2 to 3 years ago, probably. This is where it gets to the part of where I kind of got to it. Me and my mom got some tickets to go see Andrew Womack. If you don't know who that is, link is also down below to go see him. We went to go to a Gospel Truth Conference, that's what it's called. And it was a pretty big place. I'll show you some pictures right here of what it, I mean, it was, I didn't really take pictures of the building, but it gives you kind of a good idea. And if you want to see some really good photography pictures of us taking this trip, then it is on my Instagram. The link is also down below, so you can go check those out if you want to. Which this trip was 9 hours, well, 6, I guess 7 hours away. I don't know, just a long drive to go to the conference. So then we get there, it's a 3-day conference. We go there and they taught, and it was really good. It was so awesome. And then I'm sitting there in the audience, and all of a sudden at the end of it, Andrew says, if you've never spoken the language of God, speaking in tongues, come up to the front. Because he told us beforehand, sorry I didn't say this, raise your hand if you've never spoken in tongues before. And I raised my hand. Then he said, you know, if you've never spoken this God language, go in and come up to the front. So then I got up, my heart's racing because I'm like, oh no, what's gonna happen here? And so I'm the first one, the stage is literally like this close to me. I'm pretty much like almost to the first one. I'm seeing him walk by because he's on the stage, and then he starts praying, and he just says, lift up your hand, and I start lifting my hands, and all this. And I was so on fire to just get this going. This is it. And so he starts praying for us, and we're just letting it happen. He's praying, and that we speak this language. And so I'm just loving on God, thanking him for every single thing. And of course, and then he says, speak. And I'm like, what do I do? Because I've never spoken, so I have no idea what to do. And he just says speak. And I'm like, am I gonna be the only one that can't speak this language? Because I'm still confused. I was like so ready, and then right when he says speak, I just boom. And I said, no, you know what? No, forget that. I shut that off, and then I immediately just started praying and thanking God again, and started loving on him and going and going and going. And then before I know it, I'm literally speaking this language all of a sudden because I just allowed it to happen. I'm just loving on God. That's literally all I'm doing right now, is I'm just loving on him, and then my tongue just started like slipping it. It felt like jelly. I told my mom that. It's literally felt like jelly, like your tongue's just going at it, and it can't stop. And just don't let it stop, just go. But then I stopped it because when something came out, I literally just went, oh, well, that wasn't supposed to come out, but it was. It just like startled me because it's like, and I was like, you know, no. Let's continue. We're going at it, right? And then everybody around me is just doing the exact same thing. The girl around me, she's crying because she's just like, oh my goodness. And it was an amazing experience there. And so he says, everybody that just spoke a new language, go over there to another room. Some other guy is going to explain what just happened. So then we go to this room, and he starts talking about how he first got to speak this language. Somebody can explain it to you all the time, but nobody can give you that hunger and that drive to love God. And that's the motive, is the love of God. Because when you love God, you have faith in God. And that's the big thing, is that you need to have faith that when you're speaking this language, that God hears you. And it was so beautiful. He's like, all right, do it again. And then we start thanking God again, and immediately I just brought it up again, and it was extremely easy. You know, it's like from English to Spanish. It's just, I guess that's a good explanation. But it's just like you can flip it on and off. And then later, after the entire thing, me and my mom left, and then I told her how it felt, and that I can just start speaking the language just right off the bat. I can just speak it right now if I wanted to. And she was like, really? You can just turn it on and off? And I was like, yeah, are we not supposed to do that? And she was like, yeah, but you just learned it. So that was interesting. And I was like, well, yeah, I can just turn it on and off. And that was pretty much it. That was pretty cool. And before I continue, I just launched a new Christian apparel brand, which is called FSH, which is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And you can get 10% off if you message me. And here are the two of my favorite jackets, and as well as the logo brand shirt. But then after that whole, me telling my mom that, and then we got to the hotel, I went to the shower, started speaking tongues again, because when we were inside the building talking and he was kind of explaining it, he said, and the best time to do it is just like anywhere you want. And he's like, my best time is in the shower because I'm alone and I can just go with him. And you can do it with around people too, you know, whatever. And I was like, okay, we're going in the hotel and I'm gonna go shower. So I'm in the shower and there I go, speaking that language again, and it's so cool. It's amazing stuff. But let me know in the comments how you knew speaking tongues was a real thing. Where you heard about it or who told you. Just let me know. I want to know how people, I guess, heard about it. But that's pretty much the whole story of how I first got to speak it and where I learned about it. And now we're at the end of the video, so I'm gonna go ahead and explain to you guys some tips that I think that could really help you to get this going, which I kind of revealed already, but let's continue anyway. The way to get your tongue just rolling off and just speak this language is you gotta have that relationship with God, that this is your language with him to communicate with this with God. When you're speaking this language, it's out of love and faith. And so when you have that relationship with God, you have that love with God. And when you have that relationship and love with God, you have that faith and love with God. You have all of that combined. And so when you do this and have this going in your life, and you're always just embedded with God, your tongue just rolls and it just goes out and you start speaking that. And you just go with it, right? And I don't want people to see it as, I can't do it, so do I not have a relationship with God? Having that faith, knowing that you can, because it's not that you have all the gifts with you. It's knowing that you have them and that you can unleash them. It's not that God gives it to you, because when you have God's love, you have Jesus in your heart, you're complete. You have everything. You have peace, and the only thing is that depression or whatever it is keeping that in, and take that off. Now it's popping out. God, you have this because you have Jesus in your heart, and he doesn't give you these things. He already did it. Why would we want him to do it again? So we have all this stuff already. You can speak in tongues. It's just knowing that you can, and that you have the faith that you know that when you speak this language that God is listening to you. Pretty self-explanatory tips, I would say, but those are very important things, and that is the number one thing you're wanting to do anything. I mean, if you're trying to pray for somebody, you gotta have faith, you gotta have that love for God, and when you're trying to speak in tongues, you gotta have that faith and love for God. Everything is done in love. God is love. You gotta do everything in love. So when you have that, things are revealed to you. So I really hope you enjoyed this story, and if you really did, hit the like button for more stories just like this one, and subscribe so you never miss any teachings, videos, short films, anything like that. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Messenger out.